Today we're talking about what it's like to be an Aries, in particular Aries Ascendant, Moon and Sun. And just before we start, I want to differentiate between those three things. The Ascendant or rising sign is your outlook, your modus operandi, how you operate in the world. It colours your behaviour and your personality very strongly, perhaps more strongly I would suggest than almost any other factor in the chart, because the Ascendant is the lens that you see the world through, and also your front door. So it's what people encounter when they meet you one-on-one. Not your work persona, that would be your midheaven, your MC. So that's like your social media platforms and stuff. That's the midheaven. But the Ascendant is what the people who know you or anybody you meet in your daily life encounters. The Sun is your vocation. It's your core, your heart. It's your sense of purpose in life, what makes you feel alive. It's how you illuminate the truth of things, how you shed light on things. And your moon is your habits and behaviours. It's how you deal with and process your emotions. And it's also got a lot to do with your physical health and your body, and in particular digestion. So Aries, to start off with Aries rising. Aries rising, like all the rising signs, will really colour the whole personality, and it will show the most pure sort of Aries features in a way. So Aries traditionally is a fire sign, it's a movable or cardinal sign, and it's ruled by Mars. So those three things stack up very nicely, because cardinal signs like to get things done. Mars is a planet that symbolises drive and wanting to get things done, and fire is an element that likes to get things done. So we can say with a reasonable degree of confidence that Aries likes to get things done. It's a fast sign. It's also traditionally prone to anger, so it could be a sign that you don't want to annoy. It's libidinous, which means it has strong desires. That can mean it has a strong sexual nature, but that will depend where Mars is. So if Mars is in Cancer, where it's a little bit more watery and damped down, that'll be less true. If Mars is in Capricorn, then it's time to lock up your sons and daughters, because they might have a stronger sex drive. And then Aries is also traditionally a royal sign, which means it likes to take command and take charge, but it's also, interestingly, one of the obedient signs, which is an interesting conflict. So if you have an Aries rising person, they would often make a good, say, intermediate chain of command person, like a corporal or a sergeant, because they'll be good at taking charge, but they'll also, strangely for a sign that's very self-directed, be quite good at taking orders. They'll be a person who's generally very good at taking initiative, getting things done. They'll be quite spontaneous. They won't like being held back. They won't like really being told what to do. The best side of Aries, particularly Aries rising, is that they're really good at just doing it. In fact, that would be the slogan for Aries, the Nike slogan, just do it. That's the perfect Aries slogan. The rising sign also sometimes affects the body. So if you have a Caucasian person, a person with white skin, they might have red hair or blonde hair, like a lot of the fire rising signs tend to do. They generally move quickly, they talk quickly. What else to say about Aries rising? Here's another little interesting facet about the rising sign. When you have Aries rising, you have the other sign that's traditionally ruled by Mars, Scorpio, as the 8th sign. Now Manilius, a Roman astrologer, said he called that like engirdling, meaning that those two signs are in some way connected. So what that means when you have an Aries rising, because the 8th sign is a bit like the 8th house, it's a sign or house placement associated with death and anxiety and sometimes other people's money, that Aries rising can sometimes be, on the positive, quite good people to have around in a crisis, because they will actually get things done. They'll motivate people. Even, you wouldn't think of Aries rising, this sort of impetuous, impulsive, sometimes easily ticked off Aries rising as a great grief counsellor, but they are quite good when there's been some sort of crisis, because they'll lift people up, they'll propel people forward, they'll keep people moving, they'll stop people sitting and crying for too long. On the negative, sometimes Aries rising can cause crises, like they can literally get into accidents and difficult situations because they're so impulsive. So that's an Aries rising. The Aries Son The Sun, I would say, generally has less to do with personality than people think, or let's rephrase that. It's less overtly associated with the personality. Sun is your heart, and you don't always wear your heart on your sleeve. It really depends where the Sun is in an individual's chart. The Sun has less to do with the personality than maybe is normally thought, unless you wear your heart on your sleeve. Some people do. If the Sun is in the rising sign, or if somebody has Leo rising, so the Sun rules their rising sign, or it's on an angle of the chart, then their heart, what they really desire, what they really feel like inside, will be on display. But for a lot of people, that's not true. But what's true of the Aries Sun, anyone with an Aries Sun feels those Aries qualities of just wanting to get things done in their heart. But another interesting thing about the Sun in Aries is exalted, which means it feels very strong, almost too good to be true, and it will tend to show its best qualities. So I always think of the Aries Sun as kind of like the King Arthur Sun. It's like it feels like it's on a mission. So even if an Aries person has doubts about what they want to do in life, they'll always feel like they have a higher purpose. They'll always feel like they have something important to do in their life. So, other things about the Sun. The Sun is about your inner sense of purpose or mission, which I've talked about. It's about how you seek truth, or how you try and illuminate things. The Aries Sun will seek truth in an Aries way. They're usually the people who will call bullshit. They're usually the people who will point out if they think something isn't authentic, and who will try and push things forward if things are getting stuck. That's how they will seek truth. It's also how they will try to be a boss and take charge in situations where they're called on to do so. How one feels alive is the Sun. So an Aries Sun feels alive generally when it feels like it's living up to the challenges it sets itself. Now, I've read in a lot of books that Aries just love sports. Well, not necessarily. I'm an Aries Sun and I don't love sports, but what is true of all Aries is that they feel alive when they're living up to the challenges they have set themselves. So that's the easiest way that I can put it. Aries will set themselves a goal, and they won't really feel like they're properly alive until they're tackling those goals. The last of the Aries triumvirate is the Moon in Aries. So the Moon is how you handle your emotions. It's your habits and behaviours. It's it's your intuition. So Aries Moon, habits. They'll tend to want to do things quite quickly. They'll feel comfortable in a less structured sort of way of living. So they'll try and get a job done when they feel like doing it, and they'll want to do it now. They don't want to wait, they definitely don't want to make lists, and they don't want to be overly scheduled. They'll just see the job and want to do the job. If they're at a party, they'll usually be first on the dance floor because that's how they feel comfortable when they're just doing it. They don't like feeling held back, restrained, or overly controlled. If an Aries Moon is annoyed, you'll know it because they will express their anger. Traditionally, Aries is a half-voiced sign, so these won't necessarily be the people you'll get into long screaming matches with. They might just punch you, but they will say something. But the great thing about Aries is because it's a movable sign, they won't hold on to their anger. So even though they might be quite quick to anger, the Aries Moon will usually let go of anger. They don't, all else being equal, they don't hold on to grudges. If the Aries Moon is conjunct Saturn or in aspect to Saturn, then that's a different matter. But with Aries Moon as it is, it's not going to hold on to a grudge. Last thing, I think, the Moon, traditionally in terms of body parts, it rules the brain, the stomach, the bowel, and the bladder. Aries rules the head. So that's the Moon in Aries. These people, when they get stressed, very often get headaches, and all the heat goes to the top half of their body. So when they get overwrought, they tend to get red-faced, they get headaches. So they kind of need to keep their head cool. An Aries Moon needs to, and often in order to deal with its emotions, it, as I say, it just needs to get busy. So if it's stressed, an Aries Moon probably needs to do something. Go for a run, have a kickboxing session, or just tidy the house at a rate of 1,000,000 miles an hour, and they'll feel better. I hope that was good. I know I was talking at a million miles an hour in this video. I am channeling Aries, I think. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe to our channel and why not binge watch some of our videos. Thanks.